What if the Mongol hordes had never stopped? What if they swept across Europe, just as they did through Asia, unstoppable, brutal, and brilliant in their tactics? What if Genghis Khan's dream of a world empire had come true? Not just an empire that stretched from China to the Middle East, but one that swallowed the entire European continent? This isn't a fantasy. It's an alternate reality that almost happened. And in this timeline, it did. The Mongol Empire didn't stop at Hungary or retreat after the death of Genghis Khan. Instead, they advanced, crushed all resistance, and rewrote the destiny of the Western world. Welcome to a world where the Mongols conquered all of Europe and changed civilization forever. The invasion that never ended. In our timeline, the Mongols invaded Eastern Europe in 1240. They decimated Hungary and Poland, sweeping through cities with terrifying speed. But then, they suddenly withdrew. In this reality, they didn't. Genghis Khan lives 5 more years. His death doesn't stall the campaign. Subutai, the brilliant Mongol general, pushes westward. Vienna falls. Paris burns. The Holy Roman Empire is shattered. England, isolated and unprepared, surrenders within weeks of invasion. By 1255, all of Europe is under Mongol control. Feudal kings and nobles are either executed or absorbed. The Pope is exiled. The Vatican becomes a Mongol outpost. Europe's fragmented kingdoms are unified, not by diplomacy, but by fear. The Mongol Empire now stretches from the Korean Peninsula to the Atlantic Ocean. A single ruler governs over a quarter of the Earth's population. The rewriting of Western civilization. Once the conquest is complete, the transformation begins. Latin, French, and German slowly vanish, replaced by a hybrid administrative language, part Mongolian, part Persian, and part Chinese. The alphabet changes, so does the calendar. The Mongol Yasa becomes the supreme law across the continent. Traditional European religions are tolerated, but heavily restricted. Buddhism spreads across the West. Christianity becomes localized, stripped of centralized power. Rome is no longer the center of faith. It becomes just another conquered city. The printing press is never invented in Germany. Instead, a Mongol variant, based on Chinese woodblock printing, spreads slowly across the empire. Innovation is state-controlled. Knowledge flows along the Silk Road, but only in the direction the Khans allow. A technological world powered by horses and roads. The Mongols didn't build monuments, they built infrastructure. In this alternate world, the European countryside is transformed into a vast network of roads, relay stations, and trade routes. Horse-powered courier systems connect London to Beijing in mere weeks. There is no Renaissance, no Enlightenment, but there is progress, directed from the top down. Centralized innovation replaces independent invention. Engineers and scientists are state-sponsored, working on military technology, irrigation systems, and vast transportation grids. Gunpowder is introduced into Europe centuries earlier, not for personal weapons or rebellions, but for siege weapons and imperial control. By the 14th century, massive cannon networks defend the borders of the unified Mongol Empire from would-be rebels in Africa and Scandinavia. The end of European identity. Nationalism never develops in this world. There is no France, no Germany, no Spain. These identities are erased by the empire's unifying force. Everyone is a subject of the Great Khan. Education is uniform. Culture is carefully monitored. Art is encouraged only if it serves the state. Music blends Asian and European traditions into something unrecognizable. Classical composers like Bach or Mozart never exist. Shakespeare is never born. The entire trajectory of European thought is silenced before it begins. Universities exist, but they teach the history of the empire, the wisdom of Genghis Khan, and the science permitted by the Imperial Council. Freedom of thought is restricted. Censorship is absolute. A global empire. The Mongol millennium. By the 16th century, the Mongol Empire still rules. The Industrial Revolution never takes place in Britain. Instead, a state-managed industrial movement begins in Central Asia. Coal-powered machines are used to build more efficient trade routes, but never handed to the masses. Steamships and airships connect continents, but are owned entirely by the state. The empire has no competition, no rival to push it forward. Progress happens but slowly, and only with imperial approval. Democracy is a myth in this world. Human rights never evolve. The concept of individual liberty is crushed beneath 1,000 years of empire. The modern world under Mongol rule. And now, the year is 2025. The empire has lasted 800 years. The 41st Great Khan sits on the throne in Karakoram, now a mega metropolis the size of modern-day Tokyo. There are no countries, only provinces, no presidents, only governors appointed by the central court. Surveillance is total. The population is categorized, monitored, and assigned roles at birth. Dissent is rare and usually fatal. Religion is almost extinct, replaced by imperial philosophy and ancestor worship. Children pledge allegiance to the Khan, not to a flag. News is not broadcast, it is dictated. Social media is illegal. Thought itself is regulated. Yet, the empire remains stable. There is no war, no borders, no crime that the state cannot punish instantly. The world is unified, efficient, orderly, peaceful, in the most terrifying way. What was lost? But what did we lose? In this timeline, there was no Renaissance, no age of exploration, no democracy, no abolition movements, no civil rights, no internet, no global communication by the people, for the people. Art never challenged power. Science never questioned doctrine. Philosophy never asked, what if? Because the only answer allowed was the one given by the empire. The world is clean, structured, predictable, and absolutely devoid of freedom. The final question. So, we ask ourselves, was it worth it? A world without chaos, without competition, without division, a world united but silent. Would you trade freedom for peace, creativity for stability, identity for obedience? In this timeline, that choice was never yours to make. The Mongol Empire conquered the world, and the world was never the same.